Enter madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Start looking, listen for a little while. Attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow bathing in your blood. It's never enough. On the face of all mankind, our numbers up and the dead won't inside. Go along to get along in the tide by the siren song. The flames are empty and the crypts are cracking open. The horde's upon you and you stand there frozen, waiting for the word. Stand in line and wait. Don't follow the strings to find out who is pulling. Just drink your poison, keep on laughing and drooling, eating your own flesh. The master always knows what's worldwide genocide. The overlords are hungry parasites. They point the finger and the eagles fly. Raining fire, children die. Starving plague, paralyzed. Pile of bodies rotten, covered in fire. But no one wants to talk about it. Strings, no more bowing to the master. I tried to run, but they only came faster. Now I stand my ground. I ain't backing down. Silver bullets in my pistol, in my holster. My will is strengthened and my confidence is bolstered. Don't test my resolve. Don't test my resolve.
Hello and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Sunday, July the 24th, 2022. We'd like to welcome you here to Carter County, where I, Cliff, am joined by Tim and Dustin as we get into some current events and a little bit of space stuff tonight. We were going to do Star Wars and parallels to our reality with Jonathan Norris, Star Wars expert, but we're going to have to put that off till next week. So we kind of tried to cobble together something real quick we could BS our way through and talk to you a little bit about some space stuff. That
BS ain't true. We're experts on everything we're about to talk about as we bathe in the BS. So maybe you're right. Yeah, go for it.
I was like,
you ever notice, I always like when they have in fiction, when a character whose initials are BS, is like foreshadowing for how they're full of crap.
I've got that same theory today in reality.
Yeah?
And Brendan Schaub, terrible comedian.
Oh, I'm not familiar with him.
Internet tearing him apart. I don't have to. I don't need to do any roasting. He's got his hands full.
All right. Okay, I'm not familiar with him.
He's
Like the Planters Peanut.
well, if you want to, they
roasted.
call him Joe Rogan's Make-A-Wish Foundation child. That's what they call him. That's the thing. That's it. But in a nutshell, if you really want the breakdown, he was a MMA fighter that made it up to pretty high levels, but kind of tapped out before he made it too far. Thought he could go into stand-up comedy because he was good friends with all these comedians, just like it was nothing. And where he had all these strings he could pull, he immediately, without doing any real work in the comedy scene, just immediately got like a Netflix special that was really bad. And so the internet tore him apart, especially his subreddits and stuff like that, just tore him apart because, like, look, dude, you're talking about beast of a work ethic and all this stuff, and then you just went straight to the top of the food chain with comedy. You're going to get tore apart. You don't get to be on the stage where Richard Pryor stood and not get treated the same. And, so it's kind of like watching almost like an arc, because he was an MMA, he was a football player, MMA fighter. He could have been a stand-up comedian if he would have taken his time and paid his dues the way he could have, but because he was fucking MMA fighter. I know Joe Rogan. I'm friends with Bill Burr, straight to the top, and the comedy scene did not receive him.
Is this guy Brendan Schaub?
Brendan Schaub, yes. It's one of the weirdest things. Like, his subreddit turned on him like almost like no other. It's the King of the Sting subreddit was really ripping him apart. I've been off of it for a while, but they were really ripping him apart.
Says
And
the podcast host too.
he has like 50 podcasts, and I'm not even knocking him for any of the stuff that he does. It's just he really did try to skip to the front of the line because he thought that, I know Joe Rogan. I've been doing stand-up comedy for 2 months. I can obviously just hop to the front of the line.
Right.
And
No, it's definitely is a craft that you have to work. Work your way through the club scene, and I wouldn't know how to do
well,
it.
I think it was more about just the. I'm just going to go straight to the front of the line because I've seen worse comedy specials. It's not like his was the absolute worst by far.
I've seen some pretty bad ones on Netflix.
I think Amy Schumer got paid like $11 million for the leather special.
Hers was really bad.
Absolutely terrible.
I saw a couple other pretty terrible ones.
I think Bill Burr's been on the slump. I thought his last 2 have been pretty not good.
I didn't see his most recent one, but I saw. I reckon I will watch it eventually. Probably the main reason I haven't watched it yet is because I saw somebody talking on Twitter about, well, who knew Bill Burr was, going to deep throat the government for the first half hour of his of his new
I guess I
special
haven't seen the news.
about the
That's the new one I've not seen.
basically they made it sound like he was basically backing up everything that the COVID regime
Well,
was
if you
saying,
really
and
wanna
saying
go down
how
the,
stupid you are, you people, for not just getting the shots and get back out there. I don't know, but I haven't seen it.
If you want to go down the Bill Burr rabbit hole, it is BB. That's 22. And sorry, Bill.
Bill Burr better.
I got to Illuminati ya. He has 3 comedy specials where he talks about needing to get the population under control.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
He mentions it, 3 different comedy specials.
You hear a lot of celebrities talking about that, and you hear people. We've talked in this show a lot about the World Economic Forum and Bill Gates talking about that kind of thing. And Bill Gates, he's on record saying that he wants to use his vaccines to lower the world population. And if you take that out of context, it sounds really bad, but I think it's bad enough anyway, because he's saying we want basically these people over in Africa and places like this, they have so many children because they don't know how many are going to survive. So they want to make sure they have enough children that survive. So if we do a good job vaccinating them against diseases, more children will survive. They will not feel the need to have as many children, and so we'll have an overall decline. But basically, when you get right down to it, what Bill Gates is saying, in my opinion, is we just have too darn many black and brown people in the world, and we've got to do something about that. So who is he to decide that there's too many people in Africa or India or wherever? Why is that up to Bill Gates or Klaus Schwab or Bill Burr or anybody?
Bill Burr has a better technique. He wants to sink cruise ships because it's nicely mixed. It's a nice mix of people.
That sounds like Bill Burr. Have you watched F is for Family on Netflix?
Hear me out. Yes, and I stopped because it's an audio sensory thing. There's just entirely too much screaming.
Yeah.
Like, I like Bill Burr for about an hour because he changes it down. But it's like every character on that show is screaming all the time, and I was like, I don't want
get it.
this. So
I thought it was a pretty good show.
I'm not saying it's not funny. I saw, I think, like 2 episodes, and I got the premise of it.
There's a lot of screaming in it, yeah.
But I mean, it's the same way as like I used to watch Bob's Burger, and then when I had to sit through 2 songs every damn episode, I quit. It gets on my nerves now. I don't want to sing along every single time. We get it.
The movie was a musical.
It's too much. It's too much. You made it like our episode was what, Fake and Gay? I'm sorry, Bob, you went gay. And it does not mean homosexual. It means lame. It means weak. So there you go.
Hey, what's the first thing if an alien landed outside on the White House lawn in front of cameras for everybody? What's the first thing you would say?
He'd probably just throw out what its Cash App was and start twerking. I don't know. What?
What kind of alien are we talking
I
about?
don't know. Anything.
Okay, hold on. Because I'm not in the, what would you call it, the Gaian community? Would that be a good way of putting it? Kind of like with like the people that follow Axe Jones, I call them the Jonesians. But like people that really subscribe to all the alien stuff. How many alien possibilities do I have to see on the lawn according to believers?
Oh, I've heard there's like 18 races that we have contact with, and like 53
That's what I'm saying,
altogether. You know, I have no idea.
It's like, here's this
Yeah.
yellow pyramid-headed thing, and I'm like, how do you know? And I'm curious to how many they believe there actually
Well,
are.
there's some people who say with such conviction, you know, these are the Pleiadians, these are different from this, and this, and they're in contact with the White House. And like, where do you get all this stuff? I mean, I'm open to the idea, but when you just start speaking about this stuff matter-of-factly without telling me where you getting
I guess I'm
these.
open to the idea of like extraterrestrials, interdimensional being, any of that stuff. I think where I start having an issue is and I'm not even saying I have an issue, I just need to know where you're getting these names from. Because I start looking at names and I'm like, where did that name come from? And where did this creature come from that does this and stuff? So I know it's me not looking, but I'm still curious.
Well, there's one that the one that gets me is like, they call them the Dracos and stuff, Draco aliens,
Like
because they're
Malfoy?
from
Like a Harry Potter character?
yeah. Well, that's one of the races, and they say they're more reptilian races of aliens,
Well,
and
he's
then
a
they point to
Slytherin.
the
Is Rowling
constellation.
in on it?
Who knows?
Rowling was trying to tell us that maybe it's just like there's 4 root races of aliens, and it's not really houses.
Hufflepuff, that's the name of the aliens.
They seem like the nice ones.
They're like plant people or something, which they kind of imply they're potheads, but because they're always eating and stuff. But I guess the Draco one, who had that name first? Was did they start calling them Draco? The alien community have that before Rowling got a hold of it?
Oh yeah, that goes
Did
way
they?
back. Yeah,
Okay, so is there where's the word Draco come from?
they're talking about
Is
the
that a
Draco
different word?
constellation. Yeah,
So that's where they both got it from.
Draco's
Because
like-
she's into witchcraft, so she would know that. I was trying to make the serpent connection without it being alien.
Well, it goes
So,
back
there
from
you
that
go.
too. Here, Spill the Tea says, I'm such a skeptic, I'm such a skeptic now, not believing much of anything till I see it with my own eyes, not believing much of it even then. I know what you mean. There's just so much information out there, and you can't, it's hard to...
Also kind of scribe into that we're just a piece of shit of like the galaxy or whatever, so we're kind of like originally how Australia was. They were like, yeah, let's send all these prisoners and shitty creatures here, and they just kind of watch us from afar and be like, no, they haven't changed. We're just going to leave them here.
It's like that South Park episode where
guards that
Earth
keep
is a
everything
reality
safe.
show.
What if we're actually just the thing that they're sending to, where it's like, send them down to the humans, they'll eat them.
Yeah.
And we just don't see any of that stuff because we're like the janitorial staff for the prison.
Right.
We're just keeping the plumbing and stuff going, and somewhere on this planet there's a giant system where they're just sitting there tasing squid monsters and stuff to death, parting up and feeding them to the elites as calamari.
Or, yeah, maybe.
On calamari.
Oh god. So whose theory? Because I remember reading like a document that you could download off the old school internet that was called God, I don't even remember the name of it, but it was a banned book according to the internet. But the front of it had like a giant Earth that had chains wrapped around it and stuff. And I've heard Alex Jones and a couple of them reference that. And that's where they get the term prison planet from, is actually in that pamphlet, is what I was trying to remember
thinking
from.
that came from.
Basically, is that we're stuck here to be... This is the prison for the intergalactic federation or whatever.
I'm not sure if it's that. I think from the perspective that those people are taking it from is that there's actually a galactic civilization going on right now, but our world leaders don't let the lower class know all that stuff's going on.
Maria D, welcome. Thank you for joining us, Maria. She says Dolores Cannon was amazing. She passed last year, but she accidentally started getting messages while people were hypnotized. After what I saw, I 100% believe. I'm not familiar with Dolores Cannon. We might have to check her out, Maria.
Check her out on the Giggle. How has somebody not made a Google rival and called it Giggle? Does that not seem right there, right in front of you? Take it, you know?
Or gaggle.
Gaggle. Gas them geese.
there we go. It's full circle.
Goggle.
That's the geese.
It's a prison planet. Goff, you're more on the alien side, so I guess that's why I really want to lean into what because you and Norris, I know a lot more about that stuff than I do. Is the reptilian like the top of it, or is it supposed to be another step above that?
Well,
What's their belief situation?
I guess sort of in the thing when you go higher and up in the hierarchy, like negativity can't reach to certain points of it, so eventually things become more benevolent. And you can and the stuff like reptilians, they're enough above us to control us, basically. But they're evil, so they can't ever get any higher, so they just prey on things that are weaker than them.
Okay, so why can't they leave Earth if, like...
Well, I'm pretty sure there's other ones outside of Earth. They're like, the ones that are here are just content.
When you're saying, I guess, higher frequency, you're saying, like, I guess I'm assuming that...
You can say interdimensional shit.
Yeah. Because, I definitely more believe that there's interdimensional stuff. I think that's actually more likely than there would be more life out there. I think, like, you'd have to go to another galaxy rather than just going to Mars. But
I mean, hell, if you kind of go with, like, the Cardicev system, you know, how eventually you get to where you can manipulate the energy of your galaxies and stuff. So that feels more like, hey, being interdimensional.
Tell me about what you just said there.
The Cardicev system?
Yeah.
It's a Russian scientist, I think. I forgot when it was made. He made, like, basically, like, intelligent life. There's a scale on how advanced they are. It goes from like 1 to 4, and basically where we are right now, we're like a 0.6 civilization. Basically, if you're below a 1, you still rely on your planet to fuel you, to be able to fuel your technologies. If we still use fossil fuels and stuff like that. When you get to like a level 1, you're spacefaring, basically. You can use more of
Star Trek, or not quite there. Because Star Trek, they've implied that they've eliminated need. That's why they're just like, let's go fucking out into space, you know?
Yeah. I guess it's level 1s. You can harness basically the raw power from your sun, like finding ways to even like, you know, say, hey, you can have satellites that can collect the sun's energy and then like transfer it directly to wherever you are in your system. But you're still kind of locked a little bit to your system. If you get to basically God, like a godlike being.
I was expecting like 3 to be, we've taken the whole galaxy, and then 4 to be like more than one galaxy.
2 is more or less like you can intergalactically travel. It's like you can use the power, anything in the physical power realm. 3, you start hitting into more, I forget. 3, you can tap into like, no, it was
3 has to involve interdimensional stuff at that point.
Yeah. And
Maria
4,
says spacefaring and being able to colonize other planets would be civilization 1, top 1.
Be 1, and we're a 0.6 because we've not taken another planet. That's what keeps us from being a 1. Is that what it is?
Well, no, and we still fully rely on this planet to fuel us. Yeah. Basically, that's like our technology.
And we can harness the power of the sun and take energy off planet. We use energy that we don't get on planet. Basically, we can get energy from other than from our planet.
Yeah, and we're still stuck here. We're still just terrestrial. We haven't.
Let's catch up on the chat here right quick. Spill the Tea says she feels like it's a school. You got to graduate. Talking about the hypnosis, I imagine. And Catfight Paradise says Sasquatch is real, though, and Spill the Tea all over me agrees. Catfight Paradise compliment Dustin on his death shirt. It says he's more of a fan of Deicide, Dying Fetus. I like all those guys. Spill the Tea says I like the music, just not the voice. See, I love the death metal vocal, and not all the time, but I've been really into a band, First Fragment, for example, that is just one, but they're a French Canadian, or they're a Canadian death metal band, but they speak French, and they're freaking amazing, and the
Canadian
vocals.
Tech death.
Yeah,
that's if you think tech death, Canadian tech death is the pinnacle of it.
Well, but the vocals, though, even though they're in French, I have a hard time understanding death metal vocals anyway. But I don't really care. I just look at it as another instrument, and if eventually I start to understand what they're saying, then that's all the better.
Or you could take it into the post black metal. I'm dumb. Hold on, I just forgot the friggin' band I was gonna take this into.
Well, but any of them though, I mean, there's plenty of bands that are American that I don't understand the vocals. I just enjoy the sound of it, and I like instrumental death metal, but at the same time, I prefer the vocals.
Well, I was gonna say, dang it, Why can't I think? Why am I having such a mental block right now? But all their vocals are normally in French. He does a lot of clean and he does some harsh. But there are songs he's made his own basically language. It's just almost like vocalizations. It sounds like he's saying words, but he's not.
Like a sim?
Go
But
Jared.
pleasing. Not,
You ever heard the music on The Sims? When they put it in Simish?
Let's see. Catfight says lots of metal would be more appealing without the vocals. Very catchy groove, melodic stuff, and unless you're used to vocals, turn the people off for the most part. Yeah, I get that. It is what it is. I agree to Catfight.
But
Once again, though,
the
death
vocals
metal
are
and Bigfoot
another
is real.
instrument.
And Maria D says that's a 2 spacefaring and able to colonize other planets. And then Catfight says, "Thank God someone understands the music. You guys are bros." Yeah, that's right. When throws up the middle, throws up the horns there. Catfight, have you ever had a sighting? Sasquatch. I live in Appalachian Mountains and never have. Do you guys think Bigfoot would be more into metal or country music? Serious question, sort of. No, we've talked about the Sasquatch being able to do a good guttural death metal growl, and so I think
He'd have to have
he
some
could go.
hops.
Yeah, I think he could go either way. I mean, you got the real deep country singing.
Metal Walrus. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. No, the death metal sea line. Yeah.
That's what have to sound like. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, has those crazy big eyes just sticking out the whole time, like he knows what he's doing is cool.
He's definitely got that. He's got that low voice too, though. So if he can speak English, then Sasquatch.
He doesn't have to speak English. You can.
Well, I'm
you can
saying
make the death metal work.
Oh no! I'm talking for death metal. I'm talking for country.
Yeah.
If he can speak English or some kind of human language, he could do country.
Like a caveman version of Cody Jinks.
Yeah. Or what's that guy's name that does? Sounds like kind of like Johnny Cash. Well, Johnny Cash. Let's see here. Sasquatch does Johnny Cash. Coulter Wall. That's the guy's name. Yeah, here's Sasquatch do Coulter Wall. That would work. I think Bigfoot could go either way. And then you got some. There's some crossover.
Or if you take Bigfoot as being interdimensional, he could be into trance.
That's true. That's true.
He's just, big and hairy. He likes electronic music.
Or maybe he's
I
into
mean,
that.
a pretty common belief that Bigfoot is interdimensional.
There is a sect that,
Okay.
that could make sense. That, the Sasquatch are, that's why you can't find them half the time.
Interdimensional.
Hey, Catfight. If you like Johnny Cash, if you hadn't heard Coulter Wall, check him out. He's pretty cool. R.I.P. to the legend. Yep. Johnny Cash is awesome. He still gets me anytime I listen to some of the stuff he did with Highwaymen, especially. Those songs are really cool with. What's that one? It gets me emotional every time. The one where they're talking about, I'll be back again and again.
Okay,
and
the band I'm
again.
thinking of is Alcest.
Alcest.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
they're French. French.
I was a highwayman.
Yes.
Along the coast roads I did ride.
I know what you're talking about. but I can't
Sword and
think of it.
pistol by my side.
Toast
All right.
like metal.
You remember last week, Tim and I were talking on Wednesday. We were talking about all these teachers and stuff that were getting busted for messing with kids. And then I sent Tim a link over the weekend of a video that I came across. It was Cassidy Campbell. He's like a political activist. He dresses up as a wigger, and then he'll go into city council meetings and he'll basically make the leftist
dude.
points look really stupid by pretending to be supportive of them. And he put out a video with a guy who is a Marine veteran, and the guy, he's setting up people on his own, setting up child predators. And he gets the guy, and it's a middle school teacher, and he gets his school information, and ended up getting him fired. Well, I meant to show y'all on the last on Wednesday that we actually had 181. This is from the Tennessee Star. At least 181 K through 12 educators arrested on child-related sex crimes in the first half of 2022. This is from the Tennessee Star. Now, this is nationwide, and there's been a minimum of 181 K-12 educators, 153 teachers, 12 substitute teachers, and 12 teachers' aides, from everything from CP to rape of a student. And so I meant to show y'all that at the end of the last episode, but somehow that got pulled out of my scene. But that's definitely a big reason why people are talking about they don't want these teachers showing their kids all the gender stuff and all that good stuff, and that was what we talked about in the last episode. And then another thing that became unpopular, or where it became unpopular, was you saw the U.S. military putting a lot of that stuff in there. And now we've got this story also meant to show you that the U.S. Army is projected to miss recruiting goals by tens of thousands. And when you go on down to the article, it starts talking about how, it's because there's good jobs elsewhere, and these kids can make more money in the private sector. Right
in that part, it's kind of like sometimes it's like, well, good that these poor kids don't have to go lines to.
I think so too.
Make a dollar.
But ultimately, I don't think that there's many jobs where a kid right out of high school with no other training is going to make much more than they are in the military. I don't think that's what it is. And he also goes on to say that there's not a lot of them that are, physically and mentally fit enough to serve, of the ones that do. I think only about there's declining number of young people who are qualified and want to serve, and I forget what it says. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
I could definitely understand the want with,
Well, I think it gets right down to they just started they started kicking everybody out if they didn't get the shots, and they started doing all the woke training, and a lot of people see what's going on in Washington, and they're really not looking to stand up for that. So I think that has a lot more to do with anything.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't trust the bosses.
Yeah.
It's like, they're your boss, straight up. It's like, I don't trust what they do.
It's just like the right is, the right is the anti-war side now, and we talked before about how that may be because they were the one who paid the cost for the fucked up invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan and the ongoing war over there, and they saw what they were over for with didn't line up with what they were told they were over there for, and then they were also injured and killed and all that stuff. So they kind of saw those costs that a little bit more up front, but then now you've got those same. It's usually your right wing side that's going to be more likely to serve, but when they feel like that with what's going on in Washington is totally opposed. They basically feel like Washington hates them, and I would say that they're right about that. Why do you want to sign up to go fight and die for somebody who hates you, who's told you right out that you're basically a Nazi if you don't think exactly the way that they see? Why would you want to go work for those people? We got some chats here.
While he's reading those off, guys, answer me a question. I have no idea how you could do it, but which one do you think there's more stigma behind, a Bigfoot story or a UFO sighting? Because that's something they're talking about. One of the reasons people might not come out with a Bigfoot story if they had seen one is because they don't want to be called cuckoo. And same thing with UFO sightings, I do think. So I wonder which one carries more stigma behind it.
Bigfoot sightings in Bristol, Virginia, a handful of years ago.
I would say there's a bigger stigma behind Bigfoot sightings because almost everybody
now in current
has
days,
seen
especially now that
something like that.
UFOs are on like Fox and CNN at this point.
Yeah,
so.
Bigfoot, they still make it seem really silly.
There have been a lot of stuff be declassified by their own government about UFOs.
Yeah.
They haven't declassified the Bigfoots yet.
Yeah. Hey, have you seen Primal Rage? I mentioned it on an earlier episode. It's a good Bigfoot movie. It's a Bigfoot horror movie. It came out probably about 2 years ago. It's pretty cool. I think it might be on Tubi right now. It's on one of the streaming services. I think you can watch it free somewhere.
I think of the awesome a puppet game on the Sega Genesis. Puppet fighting.
Let me catch up here. Catpie said to Maria, no, he hasn't seen, he never had a sighting. He says he doesn't think he'd want one because it not only scare him, but knowing in general no one would ever believe me. It's no wonder people don't share their stories. They're not lying. They just don't want to bring it up, whether it be because of embarrassment or their PTSD at that point. Who the hell wants to see a 10-foot tall Gigantopithecus in real life? Yeah. True about that. Catpie says curiosity kills the cat, and Maria says, I get you. I told everyone in my family my UAP and they laughed at me, so I never told anyone else. Well, hey, Maria, I'm going to show you my UAP right now. Here's one I filmed a few years ago. And they can laugh at us together. Let me pull this up right quick.
Is that the new word for UFOs, UAP?
Yeah, unexplained aerial phenomenon. I'm not sure why they switched it over, but unidentified flying, it actually more accurately describes
aerial phenomenon, yeah. Well, I wonder if that's because they don't want you looking into the water.
Well, so they're calling those USOs,
so they got
unidentified submersible objects, and a lot of those, are.
Well, just call them UFO, then you can have one word for both.
Why?
because now you've got UFO, USO, UFO. I mean, you're getting into crazy. Conspiracy world's giving into the gender studies things. They have a different name for one that goes underwater versus one that doesn't. UAP, is that what you guys called it?
Yep. Unidentified aerial phenomenon. Let me find this UFO video here. Here we
Funny
go.
if he just pulled up like some video of Chicken Pinkett and then just went right back into the conversation while I'm sitting there and just ignored the UFO.
This was 5 years ago from my house here in Carter County on the Iron Mountain.
Back before Evergreen.
Catfight says abominable Bigfoot, Lost Coast tapes, Clawed, Boggy Creek exists, Big Legend, etc. are some of the greatest Bigfoot movies ever. I only want more. They never get old. Screw MCU. I can't get into the MCU myself.
There's a newer Bigfoot film. It's filmed to be kind of fun. It's a kind of a comedy in a way. It was filmed in Ohio. It's called Bigfoot the movie.
Oh.
It's low budget, but they play into it kind of being low budget, even though the creature design for the creature for the Bigfoot itself is pretty good. It'll have you laughing pretty hard too.
So yeah, this is my UAP. One of the better ones that I've caught. I've seen a bunch of them, dude. Like, it's like not even, I don't know, it's like, well, there goes another one. I've seen so many dozens of them over the years. And that one was probably the most perfectly spherical one I've ever seen. But I've seen a bunch of them like that. When we were looking for the Starlink satellites one night, I was standing out here because they were supposed to come by, and I looked out, and it wasn't the Starlink satellite that I saw because it was supposed to be coming from, it would have been going north to south. Mm-hmm. And this one was going, it was right where it should have showed up, right? But then this thing was going across the sky over to the east, and it was not on the same direction that it should have been if it was a Starlink. But also when the Starlink came, it should have been a number of satellites. This was just one ball. Of course, it could have been a drone too, but
it could either be a Squatch movie or a concept metal band that you can choose whatever genre. I kind of think it has to be crabcore, if I'm being honest.
yeah, Tubi has all the Bigfoot movies. Says
All the
Catfight.
band members in Bigfoot outfits slamming it.
Call it Squatch Hammer.
Foot.
Squatch Foot.
No, just foot.
Oh,
And make
okay.
the just foot and big hairy font look like an FOOT.
Make it look like the
Chewbacca hair.
Bigfoot. Make it look
Yeah.
like the shape of a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
say
Just
foot.
call it foot. And you go, and Yeti has to be in it, obviously. I mean,
Troglodyte's the greatest
You could
Bigfoot
call it
metal band because
Foot
they're the
and
only
do
ones.
that and make a jam band.
It's funnier, actually.
Which one has Justin Long and Jonah Hill? Which one is that? Catfight Paradise, Justin Long and Jonah Hill in the Bigfoot comedy? I've not seen that one.
I've not watched any Bigfoot movies since Harry and Henderson.
Troglodyte's the greatest Bigfoot metal band because they're the only ones.
Oh, we have competition. Well, we need to have one called Foot.
Okay, we can call it Foot, and you
Call
can
me
be
the
genre
bud.
switching. It'll go from jam band to
Oh, like you would like Foot with like tie-dye letters, and then we can like just do Grateful Dead covers and stuff, and then Foot with like the big aggressive one can be like slam, like thrash punk or
I'm
something.
not seeing it there.
can do it with make it look like the illegible like black death metal and do something with that too.
Yes. I want one that sounds almost like, and then people show up thinking of all this craziness, and then one time we show up and it's like real melodic. It's like Tool, like people. Oh!
Strange Wilderness. Okay, thank you. All right.
Did you find it?
You never know which.
Strange Wilderness. Yeah. So I was going to tell y'all real quick about the moon trees. So, but before we get into that, I was going to show you, actually, I guess we should talk about, did we really go to the moon a little bit first? Because I talked about this movie, a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. I'm going to show you a quick clip of this real quick, but I'm not going to show you much because, you know, the whole copyright thing, so we got to really watch it. But
I think you'll be fine.
check out this for just a second.
I think the BBC is just a buttholes. That's the first time I've ever read anything.
From a distance out of the spacecraft's window.
So you see what you're seeing there? This was sent back to, and it was supposed to be a picture of Earth from space. This is what they shared with us from the first on the trip to the moon. And the guy who made this movie, a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. Yeah, this
You
stuff.
can already see the white lines. From
Yeah,
the top
this
coming
right
up.
here. See, this is not actually when they made the movie, a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. They sent in a Freedom of Information request to NASA, trying to get all the moon stuff they could get, and they accidentally sent this guy a tape that was like top secret for NASA eyes only, and it was an outtake of the original set of tapes that they sent from when they went to the moon. And they show this picture here that we're showing you right here, and this is supposed to be the moon, or the Earth from as we're going out of low Earth or leaving low Earth orbit. And so you can see the whole Earth. But then it turns out that this is actually just the porthole in the ship, and they've turned off all the lights and blacked out everything so that so it looks like you're looking at a disc, but you're really just looking at a piece of the Earth through the round window. And I don't know how much of this we can watch without really...
Outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit.
They're going to show him take the screen down.
circumference of the window
Yeah, that's
then
what I'm hoping.
appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft.
Oh, I don't know if they can hear the thing or not. Make sure they can hear it. Should be able to, but I don't know. Okay, he can hear you. Gotcha.
Thanks for letting us know.
Thank you.
Appearing to be the blackness of space around it. That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from entering through the other windows. Here you can see the extruded window, probably 2 inches thick at the bottom. This is because the Earthshine is coming in at a downward angle. It also causes the Earth to appear to be an irregularly shaped circle, for you are seeing the outside of the window at the bottom.
Should have made it pear-shaped to support Neil.
Window at the top, which together form 2 different sized halves of a circle.
I don't trust Neil.
This
No.
stake was never used. As they perfected
I really
the
don't,
shape,
though.
a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the
And I
window
think Bill
to
Nye is
create
shady.
the illusion of the Earth's
Oh, Bill
terminating
Nye's
line,
grifter.
dividing
Awful.
night and day. It is uncannily
I'd
convincing.
fight
It
him.
seemed so cool when we were
During
kids.
this segment,
I'd fight him in a boxing ring.
edited and played back
MMA
videos
style.
of worldwide television
Huge little
audience.
stance.
Dated July 18th, 1969, Neil Armstrong condemns himself as he states that he is 130,000 miles out, or halfway to the moon, as the NASA flight log also...
It's pretty good illusion, though.
So you can see how they did it, though.
I wonder if you can find one to show them that they do take this down, though, in case people are just like, oh, it's good to me. Because there's
Yeah.
a part where they take the dang screen down. You see people taking, like, cardboard down and crap.
See if we can get to that.
Maybe I'm preaching to the choir, but
Well,
guess not.
you guys can watch the movie. I mean, we don't have to go. We're here to discuss it. We're not making the case for it. We're just saying, look at this. This is obvious to me that they faked this part of it. Did they really go? I'm not here to say that they didn't. I'm just saying this part of
well,
it.
I'm not saying they didn't go. What I'm saying is, if there was an opportunity, no matter what age, even 90, if I got a chance to get in a boxing ring with Bill Nye, I would take the opportunity. He just looks like he's a good...
He
Doesn't he? He looks like he
does.
needs his ass kicked. And it has
You know-
nothing to do with politics. Some people just have that look.
No, he's
Smug.
Smugnerant. That's a Jimmy Dore word. When you're ignorant and you're smug about it. I actually think Jimmy Dore's wife made that one up, but it's smugnerant. That's a good
It
word.
works. It works.
Coming for you, Bill. We're gonna throw hands.
Smugder also sounds like a character in the Lord of the Rings universe.
Yes, it does. People are all aggravated about Sauron. Did you see Sauron from the Lord of the
Slim
Rings?
Sauron?
Yeah, let me pull him up real
No.
quick.
Oh, is he like bony?
No, he looks like fucking old school Eminem.
I want to see this. I'm just not gonna even. Oh,
There he is. Let's find a better image of
it looks like
Show it to the people here.
Legolas though.
Ah, what
That
happened?
looks like a Lady Gaga album
There he
cover
is.
right there. What the hell? It doesn't really look very threatening.
Open image in new tab. There's that out. There it is. That's what we want. There we go. There's Saruman from the new Prime Lord of the
So
Rings.
that's not hair. He's hair short. He's got like a hood. I thought that was like long blonde hair, but that's like some kind of like hoodie.
Like,
So it does look like a gray hoodie on Slim Shady. It's like Marshall Mathers being possessed.
Yeah. Spill the Tea says, I heard they did go and it's already colonized and told not to come back. He looked afraid to me. Yeah, I've heard that too. And I've also heard,
I've heard that.
that well,
That the moon already had things on it?
Yeah.
Or what?
that they're on the dark side of the moon and they told us to stay away, or that they were
They
there
said,
when we
go play
landed.
golf for a few minutes and get your asses out of here. Yes, we'll let you hit a few golf balls and drive your silly dune buggy around.
our fine resorts. what sense is the there was a thing about the dune buggy too on the funny thing happened on the way to the moon.
They said that the rotation of the wheels, that they had to have slowed it down or something like that to get the way the dust falls or something that was physically something wrong. Or maybe I'm stretching that and that's somebody else's. Maybe the funny thing on the way the moon was, there was no way of getting the lander over there. Maybe that's what it was.
Well, here we got, even if you go Google moon rang like a bell, like Maria said, hollow moon. On November 20th, 1969, Apollo 12 deliberately crashed the ascent stage of its lunar module into the moon's surface. NASA reported that the moon rang like a bell for almost an hour, leading to arguments that the moon must be hollow like a bell. Yep.
Or it is a base.
Yep. So who knows what might have sense? Yeah, some people said it's an artificial satellite, that an ancient civilization built basically a Death Star that flew around the Earth and that
Have you seen
orbited the Earth. Maybe that's why. Maybe it was to control the tides.
Well, they said Sitchin's argument of, I think it was Planet X. They think, I'm pretty sure it's Zachariah Sitchin's translation of the Sumerian text, that at one point in time there was an elliptical path, Planet X, that would come around, and that at some point in time gravity or something pulled it in too close. It chipped us, which is why if you drain all the water off that does look like an apple core. Like, it looks like somebody took a bite out of it. And they think maybe that is where we got our water to begin with, maybe. And they think the rest of that planet became our Milky Way.
Jimmy says there were no tracks. Hey, Jimmy, leading to where the vehicle set. That's true. And the Spill the
no
Tea
moon.
says that's no moon. That's a space station.
Well, let's assume it's a hologram, but if they rang like a bell...
That would be good to create a script for Star Wars, yes.
My favorite one is the... That's true. That's what she's doing at first. I thought, have you ever shook one of these up and then forgotten to put the top on? It kind of sounds like somebody gently screaming in the background. I thought that was my Dr. Nuff by the way. I like the crater Earth theory too. I just think that's really entertaining.
Hey, I just got to show you this real quick. This is totally unrelated, but just to break it up for just a minute, check this guy out. This guy does live, so I'm able to show this, YouTube. This guy survives.
He did not get a Darwin Award.
Wow!
What the?
Fell 100 feet. Lived. Dude survived. But
There's nobody running out there to get him yet.
I had to. Well, I guess they figured he's dead, but he didn't. He didn't die. But
You
the
want to
reason.
go out there and feel how warm that body is?
No. The reason I shared that is because it's got a good.
So why do you do it?
I don't know. I think
Play it again.
somebody said Africa's not ready for electricity, but this guy says he's currently is positive that if he had stayed grounded and conducted himself better, maybe found a more useful outlet for his energy, would not have had such a negative outcome. Cat 56. Yeah, Maria said they cheered him on.
They're
Yeah.
not watching again. Why? Is there something in the thing? I mean, like, did you think you could just walk up and be like?
I don't know.
grab
I don't know what the
wheel?
context is of it at all. But
Like, I don't know if maybe something got lodged in it. Because if you're just gonna grab it, why not grab the middle one?
Wow!
looks like he probably got a dare. Somebody probably dared him to do it.
Jeez. And he probably survived that because how limp noodle he went. That's
Yeah.
the theory behind why drunk drivers usually survive the crash and the victims don't.
Yep.
'cause
And
they're limp.
I read. I was reading a little bit, and some guys said that he had somebody that he used to work with that did something like that, and he had a heart attack, stopped his heart whenever he touched it, but then when he hit the ground, it started his heart
Hell,
again.
boy, I don't know how the heck that didn't give him, how that didn't blow his heart through his asshole.
Yeah,
Literally caught on fire.
Make it. Josh said he was plugging in the karaoke machine. Thanks for joining us, Reverend Crash. Appreciate you.
No, I couldn't believe you survived either. That's crazy.
I don't know why that. I just had that pulled up because I was going to show it to you earlier in the episode and I forgot. So I thought, well, let's go ahead and do
He
that.
wanted to be hella lit.
Yeah, for real. Oh my.
Well, the only thing I think is like when I was really stupid when I was a kid, and there was a big like campfire in my grandma's backyard. And this is the dumb way your like 7-year-old brain thinks. My 7-year-old brain thought, I'm the fastest kid in my class, so I can probably take 2 fingers, jam it in kung fu style into the hot ashes real quick, and then pull it out before it even burns me. not thinking that hot ash is going to stick to your finger and encase it, and it burnt the shit out of me. So I'm just wondering if that guy was like,
I'll just touch it real quick.
what is that? Burns up real.
The birds do it.
It is electricity.
Birds can do it.
I seen a squirrel up here the other day. He was fine.
What's this girl doing?
Well, let's see.
Oh.
Catfight says, well, I gotta go. Bigfoot, Spider-Man, and metal are the greatest things that ever exist in this world. Later, and God bless you guys. Hey, peace out.
Yes.
Horns right back at you. Catfight. Well, we'll see you next time. Hopefully you'll check in on the rest of the video tomorrow. Hey, y'all, seems like a good time to tell you, if you ain't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Send this video to somebody else that you think might like it, and get them to jump in the chat with us. We'd like to hear from all of you. It's more fun the more people we have in it, so let's get in there and chat it up. Back to the moon, though. We were talking
Did you see that last tab you had up there, though?
What's that?
The one that says, I really want to fight Bill Nye in a boxing ring.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make this happen. He seems like the kind of guy to be like, this scrawny Tennessee hick wants to fight me. I'll give him what for. I went to Cambridge, by God.
Queensbury rules.
I went to Cambridge. You know what
Let's
that
see.
sounds like.
No, he has a what is it? He has
Like a master's. I'm sure he's way more educated
engineering
than me.
degree. Probably not. He just probably got the
He's
degree.
not a science guy if you got like 1 degree, in my opinion.
Well, if you don't even have a PhD, are you really a scientist? Or are you an engineer? I think he's an engineer. Which there's nothing wrong with being an engineer.
I mean, I think you're a scientist by the virtue of if you're, doing the science thing. But he wasn't sciencing. All he was doing
That's what I'm
was
saying. I don't think he's sciencing.
He was like at best a kindergarten teacher on television.
Right,
So
right.
that's why, I'm just saying it got really. I watched Bill Nye. Everybody watched Bill Nye.
Yeah.
He didn't annoy me when I was a kid. It's just when you grew up and you're like, oh wait, he really thinks he's the science guy. It'd be like if the guy that played Barney was walking around going, "Why don't you still love me? I was the dinosaur."
Hey, I heard they're making a new live-action Barney that it's going to be a dark Barney.
It's like Death to Smoochie.
I don't know. Death to Smoochie was a good movie.
That's already dark Barney.
Let's see. Let me see here.
There is like a neat little 4-panel meme, and it's like an actual legit purple T-Rex gets summoned somewhere.
Who would win in a fair fight, Bill Nye or Mr. Wizard in 1984? Mr. Wizard. Who's Mr. Wizard? I'm not sure. I don't know. Is he the other science
Wizard.
guy?
He was a guy from. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was featured on Big Bang Theory. I'm sorry, I know that guy's.
Oh yeah. No, I remember. Yeah.
And then Jimmy Brooks says flat or globe. That's what we've been talking about. We don't know. It's a matter of being open to the idea that maybe at least the moon landings were faked at this point.
Well, I'm personally, I've looked at a lot of flat stuff, and I just can't. So much of it comes from a misunderstanding of basic science. And now there might be somebody out there that proves me wrong, but like every time I see something that I find compelling, and I think, oh, this is interesting. Let me look a little further into this. It just kind of falls apart under pretty basic scrutiny. Like we were looking last week after we were talking about, we were looking at the lasers, and they were shooting lasers over lakes and over bodies of continental water, and they were disregarding elevation and curvature, and they didn't understand that. I even had Eddie Bravo say it doesn't matter if it's elevation or curvation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't work. It kind of does matter.
Eddie Bravo.
Well, no, but I'm saying a lot of the people in that movement, they make a lot of the same arguments. Now they may be straw man arguments. It could just be that I'm not seeing the real flat Earth arguments, that they're just putting straw man out there, and I'm busting these straw man arguments down. But I just don't see it. For one, a lot of them didn't understand the way the pole star works and the way the precession of the equinox works. And if you can't understand that, you don't have that understanding, then a lot of this is not going to make sense.
They're going to argue right now and say that you don't understand what they're talking about because you guys are using similar models, though, is how they would argue.
But I'm talking about an observational model that you see by looking at the sky over a long period of time and
that's the problem. Though. All of their model works until you take like most of their models actually do work until you take a spaceship over there and prove that it's not real. That's what the frustrating. Well, I'm talking about you literally can't convince somebody the Earth isn't flat without showing them. That's Wittgenstein, that some things must be shown, that you can't use words to something. Like the English language, the language isn't good enough to show some things. And when some people is down that far of you can call it delusion, but if somebody's down a belief system, like I'd be like going and finding fill in the blank belief system and trying to talk them out of part of their belief. I feel like a lot of the flat Earth and a lot of, well, I'd say a lot of the more outlandish conspiracies, whatever it may be, I think a lot of it is a mix of we're so used to things being messed with, we automatically expect it to be a lie, and that's the basis that a lot of people start with. And I think it goes back to the pre-conversation that we were having, that I think a lot of this stuff is actually might just be the upper class saying if we can get them talking about something as crazy as what the shape of the planet is, they're definitely not going to be paying attention to what global policy is. And I think that, I know that sounds like maybe that's too boring, and maybe that's not sexy enough for most conspiracy theories, but I really do think a lot of it really does boil down to the simplest thing of, wagging the dog, so to speak. So I'm not saying they're not hiding something. I do think there might be some land out there they're not telling us about. But flat, I'm not sold on.
Well, I mean, okay, the thing is, if you understand geometry, basic math, you can figure out. Dustin and I were watching a video on Aristophanes, and I've talked about this experiment before, and I've actually performed a variation of this experiment, and here it is with Carl Sagan. I'll show you real quick. We'll show it in small screen and without sound, but you can see he's showing you have these two obelisks right here. They're 700 kilometers away, and when the sun shines on one on the same day, it has a different angle from where it shines up here. And you can take that angle and you can measure actually, because if the sun is shining straight down on this one, it won't have a shadow, and then this one can. And then you can measure that shadow, and you could figure out the angle, and you could find if each one of these went down and they kept going down, you could then measure the angle, and you could estimate the circumference of the Earth, especially if you knew how far away these two parts are. Aristophanes, he actually paid a guy to walk between these 2 points and measure it so he could know how big that angle was, and he estimated the size of the Earth at 25,000 miles. And he was.
Did he though?
Yeah, he did.
Did he?
He was within.
Were you there?
He was within. Well, you can look at his writings if you want to.
There's a trump card on this one though.
Well, go ahead.
Well, number one, this is my problem is I'm not a flat earther. I know what you're talking about here. I believe you. My issue is one. I've actually got two, and I'm excited about the second one because it's nutty. But the first one is like my whole point was like when you're trying to explain things to someone who believes that's the main word because it's totally different than knowing. Like I remember watching a debate between I'm wanting to say it was Hawkins or one of the Hitchcock. It was who did the Hitch slaps back in the day? The atheist dude. Back before atheists were called skeptics. Anyway, he used to Hitch slap, right? He got into a debate with a Muslim professor too, and they were going to discuss what I don't know. But he took the guy's legs right out from under him, right from the very beginning of the debate, which is what debate's about, is winning. Type Hitch slap, Hitch. You'll see it. And he took the guy's legs right out from the beginning. By saying, hey, in your Quran, it says that Muhammad went into the sky and cut the moon in half with a sword. And he said, do you believe that literally happened? And the dude's a Muslim on TV. He has to say, yes, that happened.
Right.
But immediately from right then on out, nothing he says matters to anybody in that science crowd because this guy literally believes a man flew to the heavens and cut the moon in half with a sword. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like you
Just watching some good anime.
That's what I'm saying. It didn't matter what you said to him. He has to believe what he believes. And this is the same sort of thing I'm talking about with the flat earth. It doesn't matter how many lasers, how many sticks you stick in the ground, how much math you use. You can't change people's belief even with facts and stuff.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is without having this as your basis for understanding without first having an understanding of how we know that the moon or that the Earth is round, and not only that, but there's lots of other ways to figure it out. But without having that as your basic understanding, and the only thing you know is that I've seen a globe, then it's a lot easier to fall for this because they're lying to you about so many things, and that's what kind of where I was getting at is that with so many of these things that we have found out, or they used to call it being woke, to understand that the government lies to you, that the media lies to you, that it's all a rich man's game, it's a big club and you're
They
not
stole
in
that word woke from the conspiracy people, like the gay people stole the rainbow from the church.
it. Yep. It used to mean that you knew that the government lied to you. You knew that the police were just the enforcers for the most powerful gang, and that's what it meant. And then now it's evolved into something else.
My crazier proposition would be if we believe, and if anybody admits or they think, even entertains the idea that this is a simulation, though, then all your math goes out the window, because then the simulation can make things.
But it could be whatever it wanted it to be.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, you were talking about the James Webb Space Telescope, and we were talking about different interdimensionals. And one of the things that I wanted to point out about the interdimensionals, and I think I made a little bit of a reference to this in one of the other episodes, is, okay, just like this James Webb Space Telescope, you were telling me, Tim, that you thought they looked kind of fake and that something looked...
They look sweetened.
Yeah.
Is the word I would use.
And I said, yeah, they are sweetened. And here's a good example of them right
I just
here.
don't like the reason they gave.
Well, we've seen all this stuff in the Hubble before, and it looks like you can look at the same things, and you can actually see in the Hubble there's more of a haze right here where my pointer is, and you see less of the stars back here, and then you can see more detail on this edge of this stuff right here. And the reason that is because the Webb telescope, as well as the Hubble, but a lot of these space telescopes, they actually show you things that are invisible to the human eye. There are maybe the infrared wavelength, or on radio, because the radio waves can travel, infrared can travel through stuff radio waves can't travel through. And radio waves can travel through stuff that infrared light can't travel through. So it's all stuff that we have detected is there with instruments, and they put it onto a picture so you can visualize it, but it's basically showing you invisible things. And without being able to use radio waves to look at them, we'd never know that it was there. So basically there's this whole unseen world that exists on outside of our vision. And again, there's a whole, just like with our vision, with our ears. You blow a dog whistle, you can't hear it, the dog can hear it, but there's a whole range of frequencies outside of our human audible range.
Talk about symbolize if you want to go down there.
Yeah, well, there's all kinds of different sights, sounds, things that we can't, vibrational patterns that be so slight that
It's
we
also
can be able to.
though.
Well, yeah, that's possible too, but basically what I'm getting at is with these Bigfoots or aliens or whatever, there could be a whole world out there that's unseen, and sometimes they exist on the same wavelengths as us, but it's also, there could be mental perception in the same way, like maybe our thoughts and our dreams are on a certain wavelength, and maybe they can be crossed up with the thoughts and dreams and wave patterns of other people's mental activity or spiritual activity or consciousness.
With the possibility of maybe a hive mind, though, and that's how a lot of that
possibly.
works. And it's less, because I think that's less spiritual and more natural at that point if we do that, because insects do that. Trees do that, yeah. I guess one of the issues I keep coming back to with all this space stuff.
Well, it's just like with a school of fish. If you look at humans entering a stadium in slow motion, they do the same thing that birds and fish do. We'll see them react so quickly, and it's like, wow, how do they do that? Well, humans do it too.
We just don't know that that's what we're doing.
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead and finish.
No, you're good. Like, the thing that keeps coming to my head with space is it's too mainstream now, and I guess maybe you could argue that everybody's looking at the sky, and that's why it's mainstream or whatever. But like, it doesn't seem that anytime you're told not to talk about something, anytime you need to look at something and pay attention to this, that maybe there's some tomfoolery going on. So why do they want us to look at the sky? Why are they showing us UFO story after UFO story? Like the more UFO stuff that I see come out,
I'm looking that up, Maria.
The more I see that comes out on the mainstream news, the more I start to believe that maybe we've not made contact with any aliens, and that this is just the CIA flying around giant drones that they've had since the 40s.
The diamond shape. I'm not seeing it here.
What are we looking for?
She was talking about a diamond-shaped object in Jupiter's sky. I'm not seeing it.
Oh, Jupiter's so big.
Yeah, that Maria was talking about. Hexagon on Saturn's crown. Yeah, that's a wild looking one.
Oh, yeah,
and I've seen the new image of that one. It's like blue on the bottom.
Yeah, it's like
wild.
the pole is a hexagon.
Yeah, and then a lot of people say, that's the hexagon and the hexagram if you put triangles on the outside of the hexagon, then you make a hexagram, and that's Solomon's seal, and then we get back into that
We
whole.
keep going into Saturn.
Yeah, we
worship.
get back
It's
into the
all
whole thing of Saturn worship. Yep.
Saturn
Goes back to
Saturn.
the idea that Saturn used to be our sun too, and that it's all sun worship.
Let's see. I'm looking that up here, Maria. Mr. BBB 333. Oh, that's a. Okay, that's
It's a whole channel. It's
YouTube channel. Gotcha. All right, we'll check that out. Hexagon on Saturn's crown, yes indeed. So there's all kinds of wild stuff out there. But whether you believe we went to the moon or not, they definitely have a lot invested in the story that we did. But part of the things that are kind of strange about it, on this lady right here, we see a meme of her going around, or an infographic, I guess, of her going around, usually about once a year around Women's History Month, and it talks about how she wrote the code that got humans to the moon, and she invented software herself, basically the concept of modern software. And it's this momentous occasion, and Margaret Hamilton's her name, and if it's all true, then I guess we should really be celebrated. But
The thing is, with how monumental it is, how the hell have they lost
Right.
all that information?
they lost all her calculations, all her telemetry data. They accidentally erased over the original videotape footage from when they went to the moon. Don't you think that would go in a vault? I mean, this is a significant event. Remember, we're in the space race with Russia at the right now. We're in the Cold War. We both have nuclear weapons. We've used them. Russia has them. We are facing off. We've had the Cuban Missile Crisis. We've had Kennedy squaring off with Khrushchev repeatedly, and then Nixon's in office, and we're all of a sudden we're finishing Kennedy's goal of getting to space, getting to the moon by the end of the decade. Now we're behind. Remember, with the Soviets, they made it to space first. They had the satellite in space. If you remember. What's the damn thing's name? It was in the book October Sky. Sputnik. Yeah, Sputnik. We saw Sputnik flying over us, and everybody was thinking, well, if they can put a satellite in orbit, then they could attack us from orbit. So we've got to, get in gear. So next thing you know, we beat the Russians to the moon. And then, did the Russians ever go to the moon? Or aren't we the only ones that ever went?
Have you seen that first video the Russians put out of their first space travel?
No, I haven't seen it.
You could find it if you wanted. It's so, even now that people look back on it and go, yeah, it was faked.
Yeah.
So if the Russians faked, the very first time they went, they put a man in orbit,
Yeah.
is what they said. The video is comically laughable. It looks like something they would put out for $6 million man or something. I don't know why in the world they thought that would have been the.
Is it like Bollywood though?
It looks like Buck Rogers. It's stupid looking. And if they faked their very first flight or whatever, it just seems likely. I'm not saying the moon was never landed on. I'm just saying that wouldn't it be easier and cheaper to fake the first moon landing and say, hey, we'll get it here in the next couple of years, and we need to get the morale of the people up. We can't let the dirty Russians get there.
Yeah, ultimately, I can see
We got
that.
Hollywood over here. Let's get Stanley to make us a movie.
Let's look at this real quick. Is this it? April 12th, 1961.
I have no idea. I just know he's actually in the ship flying and stuff. And it's got these zany colors and.
Oh no, this is not it. Not it. Well,
You could probably find it on YouTube.
well, that's what I was looking for right there. Where'd it go?
But anyway, anybody wants to look it up, it's comically bad. It's like the first Russian in space video.
I don't think these are going to show it to you.
Probably pushing it way down.
There you go. No, this shows them.
Like it was an in-cockpit view, and I'm pretty sure it was taken where it could see through the glass, like a camera could possibly stay there, the way those rockets are made.
Oh, so I don't know. We'll have to find that. Have to find that another time. Spill the Tea says very wild stuff out there, and no, I got that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. No, we missed a couple there. Certain angles that make sense, like you said, falls apart.
Mr. Wizard's Canadian.
Oh, okay.
That's where I was.
Gotcha.
Sorry, there we go.
Okay, and Hillary said something like, one of these days we're going to break through that glass ceiling. That's what they're talking in, do you mean she's talking about the glass ceiling of the dome above us? I always assumed she meant, basically being the first woman to be president.
That's the whole theory that, do you know what the breakaway civilization theory of the whole dome is, though?
Yeah.
That, when they launch rockets and stuff like that they're not actually, launch them out of space. They're just launching them way out in Antarctica. They land and they just send them all the way
well,
back.
They do go in an arc, as they go into orbit. Hey, remember I was telling you some time back about a movie called Southland Tales?
Yes.
It's on Tubi if you want to check that out. It's about a breakaway civilization, and it goes into a lot of the things that we've been talking with Great Ricochet Theory, only like we were talking, it's almost kind of cute watching it because these people who made the movie are basically like mainstream liberals from 2006, right? Mm-hmm. So they have this perfectly logical, perfectly rational fear that the Republicans are going to take over and implement a national security state that's growing out of what came from the Patriot Act and stuff like this. And the reason I think it's kind of cute is because they never even considered that their side might be the ones to step it up to the next level, and that their side is the one stepping up to the next level. Now, Tim and I have been talking about how we have the ricochet theory about how we're concerned that when the right wing gets back in power, we could see them do some horrible things,
and for reactionarily good reasons. So yeah, that's the ever-coming present danger, that it's a certainty that we're going to swing that direction.
But if you get into that breakaway civilization that's on there, that's something interesting to me, because they had, if you saw that movie Don't Look Up, you saw a little bit of something like that too, as Netflix's comedy movie about an asteroid about to hit the Earth, or comet about to hit the Earth. And
you don't think that's all CIA programming though, to get y'all to do stuff?
Yes, I
absolutely do. Yeah.
And I think that movie was well made, and so that it was carefully done so that either side could see it and be like, why is the other side so stupid? Why are they avoiding this imminent threat? And yeah, so I think you're right. But if you look at it with that in mind, it's still a good movie, or it's a fun movie anyway.
Where you say she thinks that the glass ceiling is the dome.
Yeah.
Maria, are you familiar with Hollow Earth? Or not Hollow Earth, Crater Earth? And Crater Earth is not the idea that it's just a crater. It's the idea that we're on an Earth the size of Jupiter, and that our little thing is inside, essentially pocketed off. Yeah, that nobody can get out of it.
Did you ever read that Stephen King book, Under the Dome?
No. I did watch the episode of The Simpsons where that a dome dropped over Springfield, though.
Well, it was pretty much the same thing. It was just like one day a big dome appeared over the town.
I think they made a show about that, didn't they? I think there was a...
Oh, you mean like a... Yeah, I think they made a miniseries of it.
Yeah. I guess I didn't know it's Stephen King. But...
Yeah. Well, I want another one to show you here. This is something that I saw live and in person. Well, not in person, but live while this happened in real time. If you remember when SpaceX, they were launching a Tesla Roadster into space, allegedly, right? Well, there were some people who caught pictures of like a rat mouse running on the rocket booster. They thought, I feel like that was probably something else. It looked like this was not from this launch, but if a launch is real, then it would make sense that you would have ice condensing in certain places on it and then breaking off, and I think that's what that was, if it's real. But this was definitely not real. I watched this live and I was like, what the hell is that? And I hope somebody caught it on a screen capture, and they did. But let's look at when they sent the SpaceX or the Tesla Roadster into space. Maria, you never heard that. She heard about Agartha and Hollow Earth. Yeah, check it out. Honeycomb Earth. Oh, so you saw that right there? Let's look right here. You could plainly see the inside of a hangar or studio here briefly. Where'd it go?
In between, right before the flash. And boop.
There it is. And that I saw that on the SpaceX stream. I was watching live on Twitter while they did. This is on YouTube, but it was on Twitter when I saw it. So that definitely was a green screen, and they had some kind of glitch. And then they do this, boom, and then we're back to, leaving the Earth.
So what are the odds that they glitched it on purpose to make you doubt the shape of the Earth?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's to make you doubt the shape of the Earth, but that seems like amateur hour, man.
Yeah, almost like it's on purpose.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, you.
Or did Elon go, I ain't launching my fucking car out of space? I know I agreed to it last night over
more trouble
because I was shit-faced.
Just
I'm not
put it on the
launching
green
my car.
screen. No one will know the difference. And we wouldn't. You know, I mean, do you really have to do that? I mean, nobody would know the difference.
Well, they do now.
I'm just saying, nobody would know the difference. If not for that little glitch there, nobody would know the difference. But yeah, the chick there, Margaret Hamilton, they lost her daddy. They taped over the things. The weight. I mean, they just barely drove the rover around. But think about how heavy that thing was, and to put it in there and like to barely even use it. What was really the point of it? There's a lot of stuff on that movie.
Like the
funny thing happened on the way to the
I
movie.
think he did it just because, I mean, I know we talk about Elon being a Martian and all that stuff. I mean, but one of the absolute certain non-conspiratorial things about Elon is he's an absolute, like, one-upper when it comes to clout on the line.
Yeah.
He's always wanting people to be talking about him. And I'm just saying, like, what if he was like, I'm going to launch my car into outer space, and then was like, God, that's expensive. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, find me Stanley Kubrick's relative. Let's do this shit again.
Well, I mean, think about they talk about how when they launch to space, like you can't have an unauthorized necklace or ring or something because they have to know exactly how much
the weight
payload is on. It's so important that, you know, you can launch a whole car
Without telling anybody.
just out on the front of it. I mean, and it's just made out of, they said it was a stock Tesla. And you're just going to launch it out in the open air, and like all the plastic and leather and, you know, glass, everything's just going to be fine.
You know, because
Did you see the landing?
lithium-ion likes to erupt very violently and burn for days and days.
Yeah, if you have water, if you get water into lithium, you can have a big nasty
Elon
fire.
really launches a car and he ends the world with like a hydrogen cloud that just blows up our atmosphere and creates a real giant hole in the ozone layer.
Let's see there what Dolly did for us for fake moon landing.
Did y'all see when the rockets landed? Like, for what the heck is that?
That's fake moon landing
Crumpled
by
up.
crayon. Looks like a flag falling down or something. What was that?
It's kind of like old food.
Let's see who's in the spacesuit here.
Elon, probably. Nope, chest is too small. God, what is up with that? What is that on the little platypus aspect?
I don't know.
What is that?
I don't know. You just have to ask the Dolly. Reminds me of the beginning of Heavy Metal, the movie. Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
Like, did you watch the videos where they did the Falcon booster rockets that land in tandem? I want to go back and rewatch that and see if it doesn't look fake now. Because I remember watching it at work. I don't work there anymore, so, you know, go away Food City, you can't say nothing. But I remember seeing that happen at work and actually thinking at the time, that's unbelievable, but I just watched it and I went back to work. And I'm not saying that it's fake. I'm just saying maybe it's fake. Elon Musk. Oh,
Let's see. Elon Musk's body is a robot suit for a small alien.
kind of like on Men in Black.
Like, yeah, or like Krang. Or from, you know, who's got that robot body?
Oh, yeah.
Or android body?
What is in the belly for some reason?
Yeah. What was it? What do you call that? What would you call that?
Crane.
Like exoskeleton, or what would you call that?
A meat neck.
Neck. They call them a surrogate on that movie Surrogates, which is what it's exactly about. It was kind of like a, instead of loading into a mainframe, you loaded into a perfect, like an artificial version of yourself that you got to, you know, hone and make perfect or whatever, and then you would load into that thing, and then that thing would go out and live your life for you. And at the end, when the thing shut down, everybody crawled out of their one-bedroom apartments looking like a 4chan resident, just covered in Dorito dust, 200 pounds overweight. Because they've been logging into like I think it was like a Margot Robbie and Bruce Willis was the two people they were logging into. Could be completely wrong. I don't remember who played in it. But it was a decent movie.
Let's see how complex it can get. We got Elon Musk's body is a robot suit for a small alien. Now that didn't quite work out, did it?
Okay, that one, just how the lighting is, it's just like
That looks like
Jack Skellington as a...
it does look like Jack Skellington as a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. No, as the robots from that movie AI.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that, and then it got kind of like an alien.
You seen the dog suit? You seen the little Chinese dog robot with the machine gun on its back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like the Boston Dynamics, they said they would never weaponize theirs, but the Chinese weaponized them, didn't
They
they?
already did. They didn't. Here it's kind of like Lord of War, where it's like we didn't weaponize it. And it's because they're shipping the missiles and the helicopter with different addresses, and they're just down the street from each other. And it's like, well, don't put these machine guns on there, and certainly don't use these armor-piercing rounds.
Yep, Daniel Kaluuya confirms he's still making a live-action Barney movie. I pulled that up a minute ago.
Why is the guy from Get Out in it? Is he going to be in that movie?
Yep.
Have we not tormented that man enough? Have we not been afraid enough?
Yep, he said it's going to be a darker tone than the series' kid-friendly message of I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. Yeah, so
he's going to make like a Five Nights at Freddy version of
I
it.
guess. I'm just closing my tabs out, and I had that one still open, so I figured I'd share that with
I've
you.
actually not watched that movie, Get Out. But he looks very expressionate with his face, so if he's going to be in the horror franchise, I think he'd probably be good at it. He looks terrified.
Do you remember when, and this was kind of surprising to me, to be honest, what was that movie that Trump threw a big fit about where they were hunting the Republicans? Get Out?
Knives Out.
No, that wasn't it.
Wasn't it?
No. But it was like these liberal elites, and they were hunting it, but then they stopped it from going in the theaters and everything, and had it shut down for a little while. Then eventually it did come out, but it turned out they were making these Hollywood liberals the bad guys, and they were hunting the regular people who were like stereotypes of MAGA people or whatever. But
Cancel culture's always
yeah,
stupid.
well, but they ended up canceling a movie where they were the good guys. I thought that was funny because it was basically like it was similar to Get Out. What was it called? The Hunt. That's what it was called.
No, it wasn't The Purge.
No, it was called The Hunt.
They've made too many of them The Purge. They're like 19 now.
And it was surprisingly it turned the other way. But that's a recurring thing too. We talked about stories recurring. We've seen how many different versions of The Most Dangerous Game, Surviving the Game,
and then the original the book was just called The Game.
The Game, yep.
And
We all just lost. You're going back to old main culture.
What is it?
what?
The game.
Oh, we all no.
Mean y'all
The
lost.
Game. The Game is that political movie with it's got Sean Penn as the younger brother, and God, what's that guy's name? He was in Cape Fear. Michael
Oh,
Douglas.
yeah.
That was the movie
I've
called
not
The
seen
Game,
that.
which is, and go watch it, it's pretty decent. His brother, he's a super rich guy, and his brother buys him the one thing he can't buy, which is an experience, which is a game. But the book, The Game, is the one that had Ice Cube in it when they made it into a movie, or maybe it was Ice-T. I don't remember. Oh, I remember it was Gary Busey.
Are you talking about The Hunt, Reverend Craig?
Looking a little scary as hell with that
Well, it's-
crazy teeth.
I'd say it's Gary Busey.
It's like, I was really sad about that movie though, because that's not, spoiler alert, it's 40 years old. But like, that's the first person I got rid of. It's like there would have been nothing more terrifying if at the end of the movie, Ice-T was running scared out of his life from Gary Busey, covered in blood and mud. I'm gonna get you, motherfucker! That'd be the most terrifying end of the movie ever. And they
Big
killed him
teeth.
first.
Yep. It's been a while since I've seen that, but I like that. And then I think I saw that movie, and then I read the book, like we had it in English class. But, well, let's see. We're 11:18. Let's go ahead and finish it up. I want to bring it back around to Carter County and then tie the moon to Carter County with something called the moon trees. You ever hear of these things? Wait a minute. Vacant Josh, which movie are you talking about? Are you talking about The Hunt? Or are you talking about
It was a pretty good movie.
The Game?
The Purge, Purge 2,
All of them.
Purge 3. I can't say anything. I've watched all the Purge movies just because
Yeah, The Hunt. Okay.
you're allowed to like shitty things, people.
Well, I'm not a huge fan of Rick and Morty, but I liked that Rick and Morty The Purge episode. That was
I think Rick and Morty is an absolutely hilarious show that slowly went down season 3. I haven't watched it beyond that. The only thing that makes Rick and Morty rough is the fan base is just very hard to be around.
Yep.
That's just the truth.
All right, well, let's talk about the moon tree real quick.
Fandom true.
Yeah, that's with anything. Let's talk about the moon trees.
Moon trees fandom is
Yeah,
fucking toxic
well,
as hell.
back in 1971, it was supposed to be the third trip to the moon, and they wanted to do a test on seeds, right? So what they did was they took these seeds, and they had a control group, and they had a group of seeds, right? And they mixed them all together, and they split them up, one control, one experiment group. They took the experiment group into the lunar orbiter while Edgar Mitchell and Alan Shepard were on the moon. They had Stuart Roosa, former U.S. Forestry Service smoke jumper. He orbited in the command module, and in his kit he had hundreds of tree seeds, and it was a joint project between NASA and the Forestry Service. Now, when they got back to Earth, they germinated all these seeds. The Forestry Service did, and I think they started with them in Houston, but then they had a bunch of them that they messed up. They didn't have the right facility that they needed just to raise these trees properly there, so they had to send them somewhere else and send them to a few different places. But they took up a loblolly pine, sycamore, sweet gum, redwood, and Douglas fir, and they put them in a metal canister and took them to space that way. And he said probably 2,000 seeds were in his personal kit. Brought them back to Earth. They germinated them and planted them all over the place. And one of them that they planted was, and overall they found that they grew just the same. There was no noticeable difference between the ones that were kept on Earth and the ones that orbited the moon. But we did actually have one of these in Sycamore Shoals Park. It was put in Fort Watauga, the recreation of Fort Watauga there in Sycamore Shoals. Here's the picture of the sycamore tree. Now this thing had to be cut down. It died from some sort of infection.
Toxic moon.
Yeah, maybe.
Toxic moon syndrome. Stay away from people.
It had some sort of infection and died. B and I went to try to check this thing out when we found about the moon trees, and it was gone, and it had termites in it, and
It was raptured.
Yeah.
It's an Enoch tree.
it was taken on out of there.
Moon
But,
poisoning.
But I thought that was pretty neat. That one way that the moon trips tied to our local area, if you believe they went.
Better.
Another way that it tied was that they actually made, what's that?
I'm glad I mumbled that.
I couldn't hear you. So,
Exactly.
all right. Well, another way that it ties our area is North American Rayon Corporation. They closed down in 1997 in Elizabethton. They actually made rayon, or otherwise known as artificial silk. I don't know why they called it that. It was nothing like silk. My dad used to work there, and he'd bring the stuff home sometimes. We had like a big bale of it out.
What did it feel like?
It was like really coarse, well, really smooth cotton, I guess, and it was like in kind of large strands. And it wasn't anything like silk. To me, it wasn't anyway. But they make shirts and stuff out of it, and a lot of clothing. They've been making it
toxic. Doesn't it? Maybe because it sounds like radon is what I'm thinking of, but rayon doesn't sound good.
They've been making it. Let's see. It says this. Just listen to this. It made in the 20s. They made rayon by the viscose process, where Bimberg utilized the cupramonium process. Now, that doesn't sound like it's good for you. Cupramonium. Let's see here.
word at?
See if we can figure out what they exactly did. Cupramonium process. Cupramonium process.
Okay.
And they were making parachute cloth and stuff like this before. Making clothing up until the shuttle program. They started making the tiles the heat resistant tiles that went on the outside of the shuttle. They would do something like they would soak down the rayon with something and then dry it out with it in the shape, and then they would inject it with like this liquid carbon fluid and then freeze it and then put it on the shuttle, and it somehow kept it from burning up the outside of it on re-entry. And I think that was some of the stuff, those tiles, those heat-resistant tiles that you heard about that actually caused the Challenger to explode because they got
the cupramonium process wrong.
I guess. No, it wasn't the Challenger. It was one that was coming in that burned up on re-entry.
Spill the teas out tonight.
All right, spill the tea. Thanks for joining us. Yep.
Thank you for hanging.
Appreciate you having us with us.
Go spill some tea on you.
All right. Now here
Wait, what is that? Spill the tea. Is that truth, right? Spill the truth. Oh, I get your name. Duh. I guess I'm just so used to like YouTube names being like Wacky Tobacco 45 and stuff. I don't even pay attention to what they say anymore.
So have you ever seen Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome?
I've lived it, yes.
Yeah, okay. You know Master and Blaster, the guys that run the power station in the city there. Well, I put
look
in
at that face right there.
I put in
terrifying.
Donald Trump and Elon Musk as Master and Blaster in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome because I was thinking of Elon, being the suit, and I thought maybe Donald would be like the little guy riding him on the back, and Elon would be Blaster. But It didn't quite work out that way. This is what Crayon gave us.
It's like a Tuscan Raider with no helmet. E. Morton Trump would be funny to see.
Kind of looks like a man bear pig.
Like what yeah.
It kind of looks like Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Like this is an AI. Like this is an AI, and the AI thinks this is what we look like. Like the artificial intelligence thinks we look like monsters. Like Trump looks like a soulless demon, like that painting on that new rendition of It that comes up and bites that kid's face.
Some of them kind of
Like this right here, that picture that you just, that must be what like people with Trump Durant TDS.
That's how they
that
see him.
must be how they have to see him. Like he's all grainy and out of color every time he comes on TV, and his voice sounds like Saruman's or whatever. So we hear like when they hear him talk, he's up there like has like a demon voice.
Now that actually looks like Mad Max there. We got a little Mad Max and then Trump.
Trump still has the demon face, the Demogorgon mouth and stuff.
Yeah. All right, let's look
For
up.
some reason to me it looks like he's made out of bologna.
A bologna Trump's terrifying too if it's sentient and is forcing me to vote
Let's
for
see.
Biden.
Trump made of bologna shaking hands with Trump made of bologna congratulating himself. Let's look at that.
If an AI person out there gets this, y'all allow porn. It'll drive the industry so much quicker if you just allow it. Tammy is at a Bigfoot convention this weekend, by the way, for reals.
Oh. Well, I think it's a good time to mention that this episode is brought to you by
You know,
Tammy's
she's got an adult
Artisanal Toys.
She's selling the foot.
That's right.
It's a big hairy Sasquatch dildo. Uses rayon
That's right.
fibers for hair.
That's right, the foot. It's oversized for the discerning consumer.
I've just got those damn Sasquatch beef jerky commercials in my head now. But what would really be happening when he rips that tin open?
Close out some of this stuff.
I thought we were still watching spaceships burn down. But this is the allegedly rayon stuff then, right?
Yeah, this is
Not
the one
just
where they were...
dresses and whatever.
This is the shovel burning up, but the thermal protection enables the inside of the shuttles to stay cool. As you can imagine, it encounters a lot of heat during this process. And this is as good as the images were back then, huh?
That's in 1999.
1999, yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
does that not make you not weird as hell? Like, we can pull up the James Webb telescope stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know, man. Like, why can we see so far out there and so good, and yet there's stuff here that we can't even. That's what I'm not saying. Like science needs to do better when you step a game up. That's what makes me suspicious. Like that.
Well, I
fantastic
think
of a
they
picture.
sensationalize it to keep people interested in it, and then that also makes people suspicious of it. Like when
Yeah,
you
maybe.
take a picture, like obviously that picture I showed you earlier of the web, that is spruced up by using invisible wavelengths, and then I'm sure it has an AI that cleans it up and makes everything neat and gets rid of all the pixelization and stuff.
Adds a few things.
Yeah, and maybe so. I mean, who knows?
You know, that's part of the thing, exactly what you're talking about, is one of the very things that drives the flat earthers crazy, is the idea that they can't take a picture of the earth, that they have to take a bunch of pictures of the earth and then assemble them together.
Well, there are pictures out there, though. I don't know why.
According to NASA, there's not. According to NASA, that every picture you've ever seen is a composite of about... Because their thing behind it is, in order to, like, you have to take a bunch of pictures of the earth because it's too big, because once you get too far away, you lose...
There's Trump made a
you lose
baloney
resolution or whatever.
congratulating himself.
So they take like like trillions of data's worth of pictures. Jesus hell, man! Look at that.
Trump made of baloney.
Like that right there, the
congratulating
black
himself.
thing. That looks like when
It's got a rabbit for a hand. Look there.
the Scarecrow hits Batman and everybody starts bleeding tar out of their face.
Which one?
This one.
Well, I've heard a lot of flat earthers say there's no pictures of Earth from
also,
space.
They're all composite.
I don't think that. I
Composite
don't
to
think
keep
that's
the
true.
resolution up. Because if you composite, you have full resolution for each piece, so you can actually have those.
I'm pretty sure you can find one that's not
Okay, well,
composite.
keep in mind when I'm arguing, I'm not arguing because I'm a flat earther. I'm arguing because there's not one here. Why are there no non-composite images of Earth? That's 2019. And everything that I've read says it's because it's simply too big of a picture. That's what they say. But then, like a lot of your Eddie Bravos and stuff, they'll take that guy. There's a guy doing an interview.
Okay, like this guy says right here. There's quite a lot.
First of all,
non-composite.
that looks fake to me. Where's the stars?
I mean, I'm sure it's not showing me the stars.
That ain't real.
Okay, you say so. But there's a lot of pictures. Like I've heard flat earthers say, why are there no? I mean, this thing supposedly constantly takes pictures of it.
Yeah, but
they'll say, why are there no pictures of Earth from space? And there's tons of pictures.
But I
of
don't
Earth from
believe
space.
that. Like, I'm not a flat earther, but that don't look real to me.
I don't know how you would expect it to look, though.
Not like that. Like, you're going to take a picture of the Earth from that far away, and it's going to look that amazing. That looks like you could just spin that and then put the Paramount logo over top of it, or whatever, the Universal, whatever. It don't look like. Look at these pictures of Earth here. You know.
Okay, here's.
And then they've got that perfect standalone Earth there, non-composite, just 6K resolution. I can zoom in and see my house.
Okay.
It just doesn't seem logical.
Well, here's your non-composite, and let's see if I can zoom in any. There we go.
Why is the shadow curve funky right here?
I have no idea.
Huh?
Probably because that's all they can get from where they are.
That's what I'm saying. Why is the shadow of the Earth crooked?
Well, if
The Earth's not crooked right there, unless we're talking about
I
square Earth.
don't think that's necessarily
It's square
shadow.
Earth, people. We've got
The
square Earth.
limitation of the
Square
device.
There's the dome. You look at the dome. We're on a golf
You know
ball.
my reference, Tim.
I don't have to explain it. No, we'll keep that one for ourselves. Peggy, wherever you may be, bless your soul. May you entertain me forever. You get what I'm saying?
Well,
though? I do think they have
I get what you're saying, but I also think that there's also just a lot of flat earthers don't actually look anything up. They read a meme or an infographic or some other flat
I
earther
would
tells
actually
them.
have to argue against that and just say that they research nonstop.
I would say there are some that do, but I'd say most of the flat Earth people that I have talked to have obviously not looked it up themselves. Now that there's obviously people who put out
But you
videos
believe
and
this
stuff.
right here? Like, cause it's hard for me to like, the government's evil and they're out to get us and they're lying to us every curve. But none of these pictures are fake, is what you're telling me.
I don't tell you anything. I'm just saying
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a hard position to come in on where we don't trust the government until it's NASA, and then it's all 100%.
I'm not
gravy.
telling you that anything is 100% gravy. I'm just telling you that when they say
Well, I'm speaking for round
when people will say that there's no non-composite photos of Earth, and then you look it up and there's a non-composite photo of Earth, is it fake?
that's
I don't
what I
know.
feel.
Well, you tell me. I don't know. But
telling you.
but if it's you tell me it's not there, and then I look it up and there it is, and then you say, oh, that looks fake. You know, then maybe it is fake, but you just told me it wasn't there,
But-
and it
but
took
what
me
I'm
like
saying
2
is-
seconds to find it.
But yeah, but it doesn't. But look at that. You going to tell me the Earth has a shadow on it? That don't make no sense.
You don't
Unless
know.
it's at the cusp of light and dark.
the Earth has a corner?
There's lots of reasons there that it could.
Somebody
be.
in the
It's
chat
a
tell me why the
limitation
corner
camera.
of the Earth, the position
It's
of
a
the camera.
312 by 161. It's a old photo.
There's no way in the world the shadow of the light of the Earth curves. That's
No, I'm
weird.
not talking about the shadow of the
Well,
Earth.
that's what
I'm
I'm
talking
talking
about the shadow. I'm talking about the. There's all kinds of
Yeah, Maria, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It looks
CGI
making
looking.
the
yeah.
shadow.
Yeah, who knows?
Curved.
Who
It don't
knows?
make no sense to me.
Nobody, no way for any of us to know because we've not been up there. All I'm saying is,
We don't have penis-shaped spaceships to get out there.
And we got to rob one of them things, don't we?
all I'm saying
Rob one of
is
Blaze
you tell me that's not there, and then I Google it, and there it is.
Yes,
Now
but-
whether it's real
Yeah,
or
but you're using
not,
my same logic. Like you're
But-
saying, you told me it wasn't there, but here it is. But that's the same thing I'm saying when I'm saying you don't trust the government, but here you are trusting the government.
but I'm saying if you told me that's not there, and you couldn't even be bothered to Google to say, well, there are.
I'm not a flat earther, though.
No, I'm not saying
That's the
you.
problem with me.
I'm just saying if a flat earther told you that there's no composite shots of the Earth,
But I believe them now, though. But like, 'cause you just showed those
there
composite-
are though. I mean, even if those are fake, if
Then
you
they're not though.
okay,
That doesn't make sense. If they're fake, then they're not.
well, Tim, if you had said there's all the
Okay.
composite shots of the Earth are
Okay.
fake,
I'll
then I'd
change
say
it.
okay.
I'm
all
gonna
the
change my
composite
stance.
shots of the Earth are fake, but you didn't say that
Because I don't like the
you
stance
said,
that we're on.
you
Let's
said,
go on a real debatable
there are
platform.
not any.
Because you're arguing semantics. This isn't debate
No,
class.
it's not semantics.
This is debate class, though. If we're going to use debate class.
It's obviously you were wrong in the point you tried to make. Not you
No,
personally,
you're
but
trying to argue from a weird angle. I'm trying to recreate our position so I can actually have an argument. those composite images don't look real to me.
Okay.
As a non-flat earther, as someone who
fine.
believes the world is round, where's our camera at?
We're right here.
I believe the Earth is round, but those composite shots don't look real to me.
Okay, fine.
Same as that James Webb.
They
picture
don't look
real to me.
real.
It looks like they've sweetened the hell
They've
out of it.
definitely been touched up. I mean, but regardless, that it's hard to have an argument with somebody in good faith who hasn't even looked up. Like, I know you're not saying that, but you're saying flat Earth people told you that, and then you said, but no, you can't find any. But I just looked and found them right then. Now, whether they're real or not,
But you're not arguing correctly.
No, you're not arguing correctly. 'Cause whether they're real or not, you have not even done the research to see if you can find them. But you want me to believe you that everything else you said.
The researchers right there. You pulled them up and they all look fake.
Okay,
There's no corner
okay,
of the
but you
Earth.
didn't tell me they looked fake.
Show me another picture of the Earth where the shadow of the Earth curves at a 90-degree angle.
You didn't tell me they looked fake. You told me
never
they
did
weren't
before.
there. You told me they weren't there.
No, I said flat earthers will tell you that they're not there. So that's where we're getting a hang at now. Because
Well,
now
I'm not saying for you.
I'm trying to
talking about
transition into a
you're
flat
trying.
earther.
You're trying to bring up the point of the flat earther, and I'm saying that there are a lot of flat earthers that'll tell you. I'm sure that there are no composite photos of the Earth, no non-composite photos of the Earth. I've heard flat earthers say there are no pictures of the Earth from space.
Yeah.
A lot of them have said that, but you can look it up, and there they are. If they're fake, fine. Tell me they're fake. You guys should fight about it. Dustin can be the referee.
Like with actual boxing gloves. Well, give me a few months.
Yeah, well,
I'm out of here.
we need Bill Nye. We need Bill Nye.
Okay,
I'm not fighting no motherfucker unless his last name is Nye.
I'm gonna say this is like a punch at your first opponent's cliff, and then your next. Then
No,
you
we're doing Glass Joe. It's gonna be. I'm knocking out Bill Nye first.
Yeah, Bill Nye's definitely got to be
Bill's
back
gonna
there.
crumple like
I'm at least King Hippo territory here. But yeah,
I don't know if y'all have seen me, like, people suggesting I fight. I know I don't look like a fighter unless I've got that gangly Keanu Reeves. I might have some secret moves going on that I don't know about, but I haven't.
ninja powers.
To go back to earlier conversation, Tim hasn't thrown hands since around 22.
2022.
I'd break like a bag of pretzels if
Yeah.
I got to fight right now.
yeah, it's been a while for me too. I'm not interested in. I had a guy attack me one day at work. Some crackhead attacked me.
When you was out there whoring.
Yeah. No, this was actually about 2-3 years ago. Some crackhead just randomly attacked me, but didn't really have to throw hands per se. Just kind
Can
of.
I prove my point about
Well,
something?
yes, please.
I want to use a third-party perspective here because I just had a really interesting way of proving this. That maybe we're just not smart.
Okay.
I think it's called the I-5 South exit.
Okay.
Is what you need to, and you're going to find probably compilation after video after video after video of, for some reason, cars coming down this ramp. You'll just see a stoplight and cars out of just vroom, and just destroying themselves, flipping over, taking just, and it makes no sense. But a guy decided to, it became famous on the internet, this I-5 South exit. Why do people keep wrecking here? And everybody's like, oh, this must be super dangerous. Just compilation, just cars flipping, wrecking, coming out through here. And then so people were like, let's go figure out what it is. And if you watch any of the videos of people being like, ooh, driving the deadly I-5 South exit, there's like 12 signs that tell you the speed limit's dropping to 30, down to 25, severe turn markers. And what it really comes down to is about 0.05% of all drivers just straight aren't paying attention, don't know how to drive, and that's what's going to happen. Because, I mean, yeah, it's a big sharp thing, but we've got just as much dangerous stuff around here. You're paying attention when you see the, like you go up Shady Valley and you see the yellow arrows and stuff. You know not to keep going 60, you know to drop it down.
Or unless you know how to drive.
Unless you know how to drive properly.
And you got a vehicle that can do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of my whole point is I will totally sit here and argue for things I don't believe in just to keep the argument going. But I do think a lot of times people just don't want to see the sign, or maybe they're not paying attention. And, we're just going along our merry way until we get, railroaded. I think a lot of people believe some squirrely things about the earth, stuff like that, because, they've been lied to too much. Why would you trust NASA at this point, I guess would be my...
Yep. It makes it easy to believe that,
I guess
that you've been lied to.
I understand
why
for
people
are so freaked out, frazzled, and don't know what to believe. Because I know, dude, there's no way I don't believe something really stupid. There's no way I don't believe something that's not completely 100% false. And I guess that's why I'm a little sympathetic towards people who would believe something as outlandish as maybe the shape of the earth, or or anything, like even like demons, you know, anything, like, because something could totally be real and you not know it, and I got to keep that in mind. So that's why I'm going to be your devil's advocate and always argue for.
Oh
stuff.
yeah, and I'm always like you having you there, and I've had a talk with people before, especially people at work. They're like,
what's Dan's problem?
no, not about the show, just about how you know, if we could just get along and not argue or something. Like, oh, I like arguing. I like it too much.
I think people get too attached to the idea of if I'm wrong, I'm down a point or something. It's like,
Right.
dude, I'm going
No, you're
into
gonna-
the thing.
you're gonna
You know
be
what I'm
wrong
going
about
wrong. I came in from
something,
the
yeah.
stance that I thought the Earth was flat. You know, like if you can't do that, like briefly entertain the idea that maybe something you don't believe is true.
Yeah.
Like the idea of, well, could Muhammad go up there and cut the moon in half with a sword? I'm not saying that the rest of the Quran's not true, but that part definitely didn't happen unless some things are definitely different back
Thinking of
then.
Muhammad doing that, I see the scene from Dragon Ball with Yajirobe cutting off.
Yeah, you're right. Tail.
Maria likes a good discussion. That's not really arguing. Yeah, I wouldn't really call it arguing either because, you know, it's not like we're having a heated argument. And even if we're hollering and carrying on, that's just because we get along good and
That's 'cause
it's
we're
more fun that
Carter
way.
County Creek
Yeah, it's more
boys.
fun that way. Definitely, I'm not married to the idea that those photos are real. Who knows? How would I know? I really have no way of knowing. And I've expressed that I believe NASA's fake things before, so it's perfectly possible that they're fake.
One of these days it's going to be like just public knowledge. Like every cell phone has a camera that can zoom all the way to the surface of the moon.
Yeah.
So like, we're going, can you believe at one point in time people thought the Earth was flat again?
Well, and that's kind of a funny thing. You know, like they'd really have to doctor history because you go back long enough. There was, you know, they tried to stop you from finding out that the Earth was round, and they tried to stop you from finding out that there was a heliocentric universe with the sun at or the heliocentric galaxy. Where, you know, where people thought Earth was. Before that, people thought Earth was the center of everything. So, I mean, you'd really have to doctor history to go back to do the whole thing of like, well, they thought the Earth was flat, but then they really found out it was round. But then now they want you to think, you know, hide the fact that it's really flat, or maybe they just all along it was flat and they just didn't want you to know that, so they made up the whole thing
That's
about
where
it
they
being
come
round.
from.
But
That's what they would say.
But I mean that only makes sense if you've not. I mean, if for somebody who's studied the history of astronomy and the history of sciences, you know, unless they've just really made up a whole involved story about all that, it just doesn't make any sense. Especially when you look at, you know, not just reading about, you know, Copernicus and Brahe and Galileo, but actually looking at what they saw, their drawings, and then you can take them out and compare them with what you see at night in the sky, and so on and so forth, and you can see the belief systems fall apart when certain things are discovered. So never a straight answer. That's right. Not another space agency. NASA, that used to be a porn site. It was you go to NASA.com in the 90s, and it was not another space agency, and it was a porn site. So a lot of people didn't know you had to go to NASA.gov, so they went to NASA.com, and then somebody made their porn site there on that domain. I thought that was pretty funny. But
I guess my to argue from that perspective of all the astrology and, you know, looking at all that stuff, like knowing where the lights are and all the movements and stuff, I guess that doesn't really affect whether or not we've actually gone out there, though.
no, it doesn't. I'm just saying, as far as understanding the evolution of science, and if you've never read about all this stuff, then it's probably a lot easier to if you don't understand the basis behind how we got to the ideas that we have now, it's a lot
familiar
easier.
with the whale and the stick in the ground.
Well, not just that.
I am familiar with all that stuff. I'm just not married to the idea that same way as they use double speak against you, maybe they can give you some math that works but doesn't really.
Maybe.
You know. I'll be your resident Eddie Bravo. It's all good.
Okay. Well, all right, Tim. Let's get.
And every time you say that, I don't know what Eddie Bravo looks like. I think Johnny Bravo.
I don't know what Eddie Bravo looks like either, but he's really fascinating like this, and he's talking about like, could you understand?
I just think, you know, like the cartoon, like,
He looks like I don't know. He looks like a fairly typical, just I'm probably 5'6" Mexican guy. I mean, like
He's
not
a
dark
jiu-jitsu
skin. He
guy,
has
ain't
the I guess what you call the lighter skin, or I don't know what he even is. Like he almost has more of a, I don't know, like a, I don't know what he even is. Like he almost has more of a, Like, he looks like he's got a little bit of Asian in him or something. He looks more Polynesian. He's a jiu-jitsu. He's literally like a jiu-jitsu expert. He really is, though. Like, that's not a stretch. Like,
Okay.
So don't you think it's ironic that he has 10th planet jiu-jitsu and he's a flat earther, though? That was before he's a flat earther. He was big of aliens there for most of it. Have you ever seen those matches where he was just doing jiu-jitsu before he got known for all the alien stuff?
I've never seen him. I've just heard him on podcasts.
So like, yeah, he legit, like, all the Gracie family, like, he's done multiple, what they call, what's that called? I can't remember the name of the competition. It's over there in Brazil and places.
Mortal Kombat?
Metamoris is what it's called. Metamoris. And it's the number one jiu-jitsu sort of thing. Man, he was rolling the Gracies around like it wasn't nothing. And I think that's why they were so peeved at him, because there was one of the top ones, Royler Gracie, and he had a big beef with Eddie Bravo because Eddie Bravo was a no-name coming into the first competition and tapped him or beat him. I don't remember if he tapped him or pointed him out, but then Roy was like, that was a fluke. Eddie Bravo's 10th planet rubber guard jiu-jitsu is not shit, and he came in and he's upgraded the Brazilian jiu-jitsu game to a whole new level, which is something I would like to discuss at some point, which I know this is not Iron Mountain Hour topic, but
It can be whatever we want.
jiu-jitsu isn't real.
It's our show. We can.
I know that's a really bad statement. Do you know where I'm going with this? Because if you're in the MMA community, you're about to hate me right now, or you're going to agree with me, but jiu-jitsu doesn't technically exist. What happened was the Japanese invented a thing called judo, and some Gracies came over and trained over there, took that, and then focused it more on groundwork whereas judo's more about throwing you on the ground and not going to the ground with you.
They called it Brazilian
jiu-jitsu. And then they called it Brazilian jiu-jitsu instead of... They really should have called it Brazilian judo, is where some of the martial arts...
Because isn't there a jiu-jitsu that's a Japanese
art?
art?
It's just like fighting style. It's
Yeah.
like all those words just mean way of and, that sort of thing. But it should have been Brazilian judo, and that's why I think it was back in the 40s or 50s, there was a big match between I think it was the Gracie family and the Kimura, the guy they based the move off, the Kimura. He broke Gracie's arm, but he refused to tap, and the Gracies span it as it was a moral victory, even wrote it in the Spanish that it was a victory, making it look like he won. So there's a lot of weird stuff in the martial arts world. But anyway.
Well, hey, you know what I think that the first thing an alien would say when it landed on that White House lawn is, I'm trans. Yep, just trans.
I was trying to think of another word.
Trans-dimensional.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep, because that's what would get it the hero status. But anyway, hey guys, I appreciate you joining us. It's been a fun one. Thanks for getting in the chat with us. Share this around, like and subscribe. We'll see you on Wednesday. We're going to do the news and current events roundup at 10 p.m. live, and then Sunday we'll have Star Wars expert Jonathan Norris with us, and we're going to get into, we have these stickers right here. These are flying down the road. Well, not so much, but mine is because it's attached to my car. But if you would like to get one of them, they're 2 for $5. Email us at the ironmountainhour@gmail.com, and I'll ship a couple your ways.
Would it be a UFS? An identified flying sticker.
There would be an IFS.
That would be all the ones on the
It'd be
car that just
identified.
rubbed off. And it's no longer image.
Yeah. My fender sticker is completely dead, so it would be an unidentified. Maria's peacing out. We'll see you next time, guys.